I'm super excited to introduce one of the members that we have. He originally was from Virginia when I first met him a couple of years ago. Now he moved to Florida, and I'm going to have him tell him his story. His name is Lewis. Lewis, go ahead and come on video, and let's go ahead and share your awesome story.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm actually from the island of the part of Long Island named Brooklyn, and that's where I grew up. And I'm inching my way south, and now I find myself in Florida, the sunny state of Florida. And I joined Lifestyles back at the end of 2019. And my story, Al's story and Chris's stories, everybody's got a different story, but we all come to the same conclusion that we need a better way. And listening to Dell and listening to all the material that Lifestyles offered, I realized that Lifestyles is really showing me that better way. So, and why do I need that better way? Because, after 40 years of working for, corporate America, so to speak, that's enough. And I saw no end in sight. And I have two beautiful children, as you see there, Melissa and Vincent. And although they're fully grown and making their own way in the world, I'm sorry. They're making their own way in the world, and I have a lot to show them. I want them to have a better life than I have. Like I said, I got involved with Lifestyles, and it truly was the best thing that happened to me. And I got involved with a couple of deals, and tonight I want to show you my second deal, and that is a house, we call it San Miguel. It needed a lot of work when I found it. I found it in August of 2020, and it was right on the heels of the whole COVID debacle. Well, at least the worst part of it. We were still not out of that debacle. And I couldn't wait to get back into buying houses after my first property. And we found this one, but it was tenant occupied. And for some reason, the tenant let that landlord get away with not repairing hardly anything in the house. And it was really run down. And I could show you pictures all night, believe me. But we have a few here to show you the kitchen. It went from, that ratty old kitchen to, and those are just refinished cabinets. We really did things in an economical way. We turned into a very nice house on a very reasonable budget. But that house needed everything from foundation to driveway to roof, inside, outside appliances, HVAC, you name it. And like I said before, I could show you pictures all day, but it came out very nice. It's in a very nice area. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. The interesting thing is, I bought it for a very good price, but the rehab budget was very high. It was, like I said, it needed a lot of work. And so we got through it. I had a very good contractor helping me. And in the course of the rehab, which it took about 2 months, what was originally an ARV of 186 became an appraisal of 205. In other words, when I closed on the house in November 2020, after finding in August, we let the tenant, gave her time to move out and everything. Then I finally closed in November 2020, and we got right into the foundation work and all the other work that the house needed. And by the time we were finished, it was mid-January, and at that point, it was worth 205, and that was great. That was absolutely great. I found tenants right away because it is in a nice part of San Antonio, and so. All in all, just from what Lifestyles taught me to use hard money and the vendors on the vendor list, not just the general contractor, but the insurance, the leasing agent, and of course my mentor, and all the help I had along the way, I was able to buy this house for a mere $25,000 out of pocket, and that was a score. And I immediately had a capital gain of $50,000. or better than 50,000. Now the house just keeps appreciating. Not a week goes by that I don't get a phone call or a postcard asking me, "Do you want to sell that house on San Miguel? Because it's in such a nice area and it's such a nice looking house and all that." So I started out with a nice cash flow, 335 a month, and that 1 year lease is just coming up actually this weekend. And I really struggle with how much do I raise these people, because now it's in the $1,900 neighborhood, maybe $2,000 neighborhood. And but you can't do that to a family, and I struggled with that. I said, okay, how much? Well, the good news was that they found another job in Dallas and they're relocating. So I put it back on the market, and my phone was blowing up for like 3 days. I found a tenant almost immediately, and she will be moving in. A single mom with 3 kids will be moving in the end of next week, and I will be getting 18 and a quarter. So I almost doubled the cash flow on that house after 1 year. So
Hey, Louis, this is Joe. I'm sorry I got disconnected. The hotel Wi-Fi just quit on me for a second. But I'm going to ask you a question. How difficult was it to find a resident to take over here? I know you just shared that your phone was blowing up, but how quickly were you able to screen residents and get the next one ready to rent?
Very quickly. Actually, I used a service, and they applied through the service, and so I got the criminal record, which was zero, nothing, and I got their financial records, and I went through that, and the person who will be renting has a very good background, no evictions, nothing to worry about, and has a good income, good verifiable income. So it took me less than a week. I guess, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so now, instead of $335 a month, you're going to be getting over $600 a month, correct?
That's about $640, yes, sir.
All right. And that is awesome. All right. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide,
Okay.
Chris. And this is your portfolio summary right here. You got 4 houses. Now, you joined when again?
The end of December 2019, and I bought my first house. I closed on my first house 3 weeks later, of January 11, 2020, and yeah, bought my second one in November.
I want to ask you one question. How much did you have to start off with your first house?
The first house, I refinanced my primary home, and I scraped together about 50K. After paying some credit cards to get my credit score up and all that. So I had about 50K, and I didn't think I'd be able to do much better than 1 or 2 houses.
Right. So just like me, you thought you only could do 1, and now here you are with 4 properties. So the next slide is going to tell us a lot more. But before we go on to the next slide, let's take a look at the cash flow that you're using. I mean, that you're getting per year. You're getting $23,280, and that is tax-free because of all the tax write-offs and the depreciation, which Chris is going to teach folks in the 2-day this weekend about, and that's super powerful. And Louis is going to touch on the tax advantages here in the next slide. But look at the equity, folks. He started off with $50,000 doing a cash-out refi from his primary home, and look what it has grown to. That is 5 times the amount of what he started out with. 5 times. Can your job give you a raise like that? Louis, you gave yourself a raise of $254,000. And before we move to the next slide, go on, side. I'm sorry.
Absolutely, go ahead.
You and I are right now in discussion about possibly doing a cash out refi on San Miguel Street, or maybe even Dry Canyon, correct?
Even the old one, yes, Dry Canyon, yes, sir.
All right, so that's going to put more money back in your pocket to be able to buy more. All right, Chris, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, tell us about this. How has the education from Lifestyles Unlimited changed your life?
Well, it gave me a completely new outlook on life. I look at things completely differently. I'm no longer, I'm just counting the days, counting the months to when I could walk away from the W-2 job. And I realized that that's possible. I thought 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I really thought I would be working forever, and there was no way around that, and maybe someday get Social Security. And there was really not a whole lot of promise for a whole bunch of reasons, which don't really matter. The point is that Dell's teachings on the radio and everybody that works there, Chris, Al, everybody who makes lifestyles work, all the mentors, and I got to give a shout out to the meetup groups, because I wasn't a believer. I was very suspicious, and like Al, I think mentioned that you look at it with an eye that, is this really possible? So it made me realize that not only is it possible, but Lifestyles is there to show you the way, not give you any shortcuts, but show you how you can make things happen for yourself. And now I think in terms of, when I sold my house recently, how much will I get out of it? How many houses can I buy? I only think in those terms, and yeah, the tax advantages were fantastic. As you know, COVID was, made us all pay a heavy penalty. Mine was I got laid off from my job, but that was the bad news. The good news was that opened up my 401k. So I was able to pull out money from my 401k, but that is taxable income. But with all the money I spent on my first two properties in 2020, I was able to have a tax deductions of almost $20,000, which completely
It completely wiped out your capital gains taxes, right?
the capital gains I was pulling out of 401k.
So let's reiterate that, because that's super powerful. Number one, you lost your job. You got laid off. You were still able to buy properties because you found another job rather quickly. You pulled money out of your 401k because you had just lost your job. All the taxes on that, because of the properties that you bought, were negated by all the write-offs and the depreciation from the properties that you bought. That is phenomenal. There are a lot of people out there who are scared out of their wits to pull money out of their IRA or their 401k. But once you get into real estate, the real estate gives you the vehicle for the tax advantages that literally can change the financial course of your life. And this is what it did for you. And that is phenomenal. And I got to give you a hand. I got to give you a hand, Louis. That's super awesome.
No, really, Lifestyles deserves a hand, because I took that money out gleefully and only because of what Lifestyles taught me. I could have done that without the education, without the mentorship, without the other members, showing me the way. And I could have blown all that money, and I could have done things dumb, stupidly, and still invested in real estate. But Lifestyles, I mean, any of you guys out there that are thinking about joining, or you already joined, don't waste time. Every day counts, and consume all the videos you can, get all the education you can, because you could really make this happen. And you hear these stories. You saw Chris's, his properties, what he did earlier. Will I ever get another deal like this? I don't know. So I might get better ones. I might get others that aren't as good. But the point is, there are so many deals out there, and with Lifestyle showing you a good recipe that you could just
absolutely
rinse and repeat, and just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I can't wait to
absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next slide, Chris.
Yes, sir.
So who's on your team? Lifestyles talks about building your team. Tell us about your team.
Yeah, and my apologies to anyone I forgot to put up here, because it's a big team and it took me a while, but I found some really great folks. Top One Construction actually has done the renovations of all 4 of my properties. That property I discussed earlier had a budget of $65K, and I ended up a budget of $65K, an estimate of $65K. And I ended up paying $67,000. I mean, that's huge to come that close. Longhorn Lending did the hard money for all 4 of my properties. They are like a well-oiled machine. They're just fantastic. Rich Nunez at AMP, he's a superstar. He even did my primary home where I live now, for conventional, when I refinanced all of these properties rather. CNC Insurance, Teresa, fantastic. I pick up the phone, Teresa, I got another one, send the basic information, and boom, I have insurance going to the lender, and of course, Joe has helped me along the way. He puts up with my nuisance questions, my dumb questions, my smart questions, all the questions, and he's always there within, a short while to get back to me if he doesn't pick it up immediately. So again, could I have done this on my own? Maybe, but I would have made a ton of mistakes. A lot of people are making money in real estate, but the membership fee was well worth it. If I divide that membership fee across the 4 houses that I already bought, it's a joke. It doesn't mean anything. It's a couple of thousand
Right.
difference in
Absolutely.
purchase price on each one. And I gladly have paid it because of what I learned and how easy it made, this whole system that I've been taught has been.
All right. And
Yes.
this team continues to help you succeed and get moving on it. So
Oh,
let's go on to the
absolutely.
final slide and tell us what's next.
Well, more houses, more houses, more houses, because I'm not at the point yet where I could upgrade to multifamily, but obviously that's the holy grail. That's what I want to do. Do I retire before then or after then? But in any case, I will retire. I could think of nothing else. And how do I keep growing? My oldest properties, they're getting to the point where they have a lot of equity in them. They might even have debt equity in them. So do I sell them? Probably not in this environment. Maybe, and that was Joe's advice. Refinance to pull money out and still keep valuable assets that are already, giving me money. Sure, the cash flow might go down a little bit, but it'll be worth it because it'll free up maybe the ability to get 1 or 2 houses on each refinance. And why am I doing this? I obviously, I don't want to just build up a pile of money for my family. I want to show my children that they don't have to wait until what we've always thought was retirement age. They can retire once they get enough money to invest and get started in this, and I could show them the way. And I can't wait to get them more. They're involved in the point that they're watching me, but they're still busy working, very young, and they'll get there soon, and that'll be the fun part, getting them involved.
You know what you got to do, Louis? You got to get your son and daughter to the expo coming up next month.
Well, my
All three
daughter
of my
came to the
daughters are
first
going to
one.
be there, and I'd love to introduce my kids to yours and let them and tell them about their real estate. So that'll
That'd be great.
help.
Yeah, your kids are hitting it out of the park. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we got Chris. We are done here. What we have next? We got questions, right?
Yeah, I
Or
think
is
we got
there
a
any
few
questions?
questions online, and then we'll open the room for 1 or 2.
Sure. So
Okay.
the first question I have is from Suzanne, and she said, Louis, are you going to manage all of your first question is, are all of your properties in a close proximity to each other? And she asks for knowing when you're building your team, having people in one area to go to all of your properties versus spread out.
Honestly, nobody goes to the properties, and being in the same area isn't that important. What has been important is that they go in San Antonio. I will branch out into Houston if I see a good deal, but no, I am managing them myself, and I'll continue to do that until it becomes unwieldy. And
So you live
when I
in
have enough
Florida.
properties, it becomes too much work.
Louis, you live in Florida, but you manage your properties in Texas. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Well,
Good.
like I tell friends of mine say, how can you do that? I mean, it's so far away. I say, well, let's say I owned a house 4 miles from here and the air conditioner broke. Am I going to drive over there with a hammer? No. I mean, what am I going to accomplish? I can't go there. I'm going to get on the little Google machine and I'm going to find an air conditioning guy or gal and send them over there. So what's the difference if we're in a new world now. We get on the internet, we get on our telephone and we send somebody over there. So that has not been a problem. I do have a good leasing agent who goes well beyond the leasing, and he's been almost like a second mentor to me, the fellow Sam over at Profit Realty, and he will go over there and check on a property for me. But I really haven't needed much of that because given the large renovations I'm doing, everything is brand new. So if a problem arises, it's a small one. It's a little plumbing fix here and there. And I've built up a pretty good Rolodex of electricians and plumbers and drywall people and stuff like that. So
That's good. We
No,
gotta give you
That's,
props
that's
for doing
something
that.
Chris is going to teach in the 2-day as well.
Yeah. We also have to give props to Joe because he's putting, he obviously taught you right. And you listened. Way to go.
And
All
that
right,
actually,
another question?
yeah, I've got one other one that's a good segue off of what he was just talking about. So Julius asked, how did you build your team? Did you get referrals from members, or where did you find these people?
Mostly the vendor list and the Lifestyles realtors were very helpful, and Joe was helpful. But the realtors are out there in the trenches, and I got to say, every one of my properties I found through a Lifestyles realtor, and they, you know, again, they're in the trenches, so they know the foundation people. And on day one, when I went to Lifestyles, I joined up, I stayed there, I introduced myself to a couple of realtors. One was very welcoming. He brought me to his office and he showed me properties, and he says, okay, this is what you need to do. You'll need a foundation guy. Here's a couple of phone numbers. You'll need a GC. Here's a couple of more phone numbers. And that helped. And then I went back home. I went on the vendor list and I called around. That's how I found lenders. That's how I found conventional lenders, hard money lenders.
So,
yeah.
so Louis, you still doubted the system, and you flew out to Texas, and you did that little bit of in-person thing. But ever since then, you pretty much trust the system now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I should mention that 3 of my houses I've never seen in person. My first house, I only saw it when it was halfway through its renovation. One time, I went to the expo back in 2020, and I drove over to San Antonio to take a look at it because I was so excited. It was my first one. You know, you always remember your first one.
Oh yeah, the first one's the baby.
Absolutely. And but the last 3, I've never seen them. I've seen them on FaceTime, thanks to the Lifestyles Realtors and my GC, sending me videos, sending me pictures, things like that. So, yeah, it can be done remotely. I've only been to Texas twice in my life, once to join and once to see my first property, and that's it.
Well, that was because you were in Expo. All right. Do we have any questions from the audience in person? Yes.
Any live questions in here? Okay, just answered it.
Let me bring you the mic, though.
Yeah, just confirmation, all 4 properties are here in San Antonio, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay. There you go.
No, not at all.
No, he's never lived here.
Hello, Louis.
I've been to Texas twice in my life.
Who are you using for your management company? Is it a company or is it just a person doing?
No, I only use a leasing agent. I've used a couple of different leasing agents. Lifestyles has leased one of my properties. Profit Realty they're on the vendor list. They leased the other 3 of my properties, but that's all they did was find the tenant and lease it. And now I'm also using the Lifestyles Realtor actually showed me how to use apartments.com and do my own screening, do my own advertising and marketing. You still need boots on the ground to actually open the door and show the house. So I pay that 1 month's rent to get that done with a leasing agent, but nobody manages it. I self-manage. My tenants have my phone number. They call me. I call them back right away. If something happens, I get it fixed. And yeah.
Sounds weird, right? And you live in Florida, but you self-manage your properties in Texas. I live in Dallas. I self-manage my portfolio all over the state of Texas as well. And you know, that's part of being a member of Lifestyles Unlimited is we come in and we teach you how to do these things. So you don't have to give away chunks or big portions of your profit on management. We teach you how to do it and do it right. So props to you, Louis. You're doing a great job. Joe, any closing thoughts here?
Thank you, sir.
No, I mean, just if you're new to Lifestyles Unlimited, somebody referred you here, I would recommend to attend that 2-day. It changed my life. It changed Louis's life. Louis is actually going to be looking for properties in his own backyard, and in Florida. We now have a national mentor living in the Florida area. We've got another single family national mentor in the Oklahoma area. So we're not Texas centric. We're helping people all over the nation. And we've got Texas members buying outside of Texas now. So the world's your oyster, just to make sure the numbers work. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Louis. You've been awesome. I congratulate you for your awesome story and taking action and getting there. So everyone give him a hand, and aloha, y'all. Good night.